Day, June 17th, 2024, Madison County School Board meeting. This meeting is now officially called to order. Please stand so that we can have a moment of silence followed by the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have a sign-in sheet to the back. It's going to be to my right. If anyone desires to speak, please. We have one? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Pittinsworth. Okay. Number 2, the agenda. We need to amend the agenda. We're going to amend the agenda, and we're going to put it under consent agenda. It's going to be 4.7. That's going to be joint use and agreement with the sheriff's office, and 4.8, student field trip. We're going to pull under items for individual consideration 5.2, DriftNet Nowhere System. So, may I have a motion for approval of the agenda?
I move to approve the agenda with the amendments.
I second.
It has been moved by Mr. Carroll, second by Mrs. Knight, that we approve the agenda with the additional amendments. All in favor, please show your hands. Okay. Now, we will go into the public input. And we have Mrs. Jamie Andrews, and she wants to discuss fund banners.
It's really just a question because, and I don't know if it's a request or a question, but looking at the reports for tonight's board meeting, when it comes to fund balance, Ms. Rose is usually real good about keeping us updated with the assigned and unassigned fund balance percentages. But tonight I just couldn't find it. I can find the big numbers, but not the percentage. And so for those of us that have just been following the percentages, I didn't know if there was a way to translate the monetary value to that percentage. So that was my request when it gets time for that, if there was a way to inform us of what that percentage is rather than just the monetary amount.
Hold on one moment.
Thank you.
Hold on. Let's see if we can.
Did you say hold on?
Yes.
Okay, yes, ma'am.
Usually, we don't answer questions about when public input, but I'm sure that's an easy one to.
Well, I was trying to catch it before it came to it in case there was a way. I understand if you can't at this time, but.
Okay.
Okay.
Well,
Thank you.
I just want to clarify that.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am. We'll go right into the consent agenda. First one, the consent agenda is 4.1 minutes. NEFEC membership contract, 4.3 fundraisers, 4.4 membership in PACE, and PACE professional development services, 4.5 dual enrollment agreement with Big Bend Technical College, and 4.6 permission to piggyback on Suwannee County milk bid, 4.7 joint use agreement with the Sheriff Department, 4.8 student field trips.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
I second.
It has been moved by Mrs. Gibson, second. Who seconded that?
Ms. Knight.
Ms. Knight. Second by Mrs. Knight, that we approve the consent agenda. All in favor, please show your hands. 5-0, Ms. Bishop. Item 5, items for individual consideration. 5.1, 5-year survey plan. Mr. Gann.
Yes, ma'am. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board. This is the second part of the requirements for us to free up the CO and DS money. We went and had the 5-year or the spot survey done, which y'all have already approved. And this is the second part, the project priority list. And this is to free up this money where we can use it for the chiller replacements at high school and central school. And just, it's approximately $700,000, I think, what the total amount of it is. So,
That's it?
yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I move to approve the 5-year survey.
I second.
It has been moved by Mrs. Gibson, second by Mrs. Thompson, that we approve the 5-year survey. Any discussions behind it?
Does any of this include anything about out there, the athletics?
No, sir.
You know?
No, sir. This is the main building is cooled by chillers. At the high school, it's the chillers alone. There's 2 of those chillers out there. Central's got one that they're all were 2001 machines, so they're getting quite a bit of age out there on them.
Well, we already done that, right? I mean, we already approved that chiller stuff, right?
Well, this is the second part of it.
The second part of the
Yeah.
chiller?
This is the second part of the releasing the money where we
Oh, I
can
got
use
you.
that money.
Oh, I got you,
Yes.
I got you.
DOE requires us to
I
jump through
got you.
those hoops, so.
I got you.
Okay. But we'll take the vote if all the discussions, all in favor of 5-0, Ms. Bishop. Thank you. We did pull 5.2, 5.3, contract with Kim Buchanan for speech language services.
Hi, good evening.
Hello.
So we did our contracts a little bit differently this year, so they ended up on individual consideration. Wanted to talk to you about ways that we were trying to save money as a district. In the past, our contracted services, when contractors moved from school to school, which was part of their hours, they got the same hourly rate as they did for direct services. So this year, we spoke with our contractors about a different hourly rate when we're having them move around. So you're going to see a travel rate in there, and it's not anything additional. It's actually what they were already getting, but now it's at a reduced rate.
But that's what I want to
Okay.
question.
Mm,
I'm
yes,
going
ma'am.
to question that when we come to those particular contracts.
Okay.
Because are we paying people to come to work now?
It was, they were already being paid. So for example, if they were getting paid $70 an hour, it was $70 an hour for all the hours that they worked for us.
Okay.
And that
but
was how it was in the past. And
This
so-
first one, I don't see that fee included in there.
No,
with
ma'am.
Mrs.
And that, I'll
Kim
go in.
Buchanan.
Yes, ma'am. I'll go one by one. Kim only goes to one school. She's at Pinettas, so we took travel time off of hers. Before it said it would be included in her hourly rate. We don't send her anywhere else, so we took that completely out.
And what is the total amount of that contract?
That amount is
$73.
$30,240.
30,000,
Yes.
240? Okay. So we're going to do them individually,
Yes.
this list.
I move to approve the contract with Kim Buchanan for speech and language services.
I second.
It has been moved by Mrs. Gibson, second by Mrs. Thompson, that we approve the contract with Ms. Kim Buchanan. Any other questions? All in favor of, wait a minute.
No, I just want to say I appreciate you answering all my questions early
Yes, sir.
when I got it, so therefore I knew what I was looking at.
Absolutely.
All in favor, please show your hands. Okay, 5-0. Okay,
All right, so 5.4 is, I'm not sure if that's the one you guys moved to consent, but that is our contract with, it's an agreement with the Madison County Sheriff's Office for when students are incarcerated, that we can serve them while they're serving their time.
and were there any changes in this particular contract?
No,
It
ma'am.
remains the same.
It remains-
As from last year, the pay and everything remains the
There's
same.
no pay involved in this. Yeah.
Well, okay, everything remains the same.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And our people who we're paying. So it's coming from that's what I'm talking about. Our people that we're paying they're coming from the ESC department?
So I'll just tell you, it's very rare that we have a student that is incarcerated. But if they do, we have to send a teacher. We're required to send a teacher to serve them over there. And so this agreement is that the
Okay.
sheriff's office will communicate with us and
Thank
let us
you.
know. Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions?
I move to approve the agreement with Madison County Sheriff's Office for the ESC services.
I second.
It has been approved by Mr. Carroll, second by Mrs. Knight, that we approve the agreement with Madison County Sheriff's Office for ESC services. All in favor? Mrs. Bishop, 5-0. 5.5, contract with Smith Therapy.
Okay, so Miss Smith, she has had, I guess maybe because of COVID or whatever happened over time, we've had an increase of kids that have needed occupational therapy. And it is just continuing to grow. So we had her on, previously we just had her on a 35-hour-a-week service limit. And then some weeks she was over, some weeks she was under. And those weeks she was over, she just absorbed the time and she didn't charge us for it. So we thought it would be more beneficial if we moved to a monthly average on her. That way she's not eating sometime and then other times she just has shorter weeks. And so that was how it was changed. And also the same thing applies to her. She had the regular same hourly rate no matter what she was doing. And so we negotiated a cheaper rate while she was traveling. And when they're traveling, they're usually making phone calls, they're doing stuff that has to do with school, but it's not a direct service. So we talked to them about reducing that rate while they're traveling between schools. And we send them to those schools, but because we're so, we have kids that are being served all over the district. That's part of their time.
And what
Can I
is-
ask a question?
Yes, sir.
So where it says the $50 per hour when traveling between school sites, so they don't get this when they show up to the first school site in the morning, but if they go from school site 1 to
Yes.
school site 2 to
Yeah.
school site 3, they're paid for the travel time
Yes.
at the $50 an hour rate.
And
Okay.
and it is minimal, but every little saving that we can
she's
do
not,
matters.
She's not being paid for that.
Yes, she is.
There was
I'm saying fee for full compensation of
Oh,
expense.
this is not-
She's fine. Miss Smith's getting paid for
I don't see where,
so I do
Smith,
I know
Smith
that
Therapy, she's being paid that $50. Smith,
It's paragraph 4.
I have it down for her.
we had some technical difficulties, so there were some updates. So you may have printed it before we
I see it.
realized.
I see it in the bottom,
Yeah, it's like
kind of the middle.
4, 5.
It's kind of down in the middle of it.
Okay, like she said, it might be some technical difficulties.
Yeah, she might have
this one
printed it
doesn't have it.
before.
This
we-
one doesn't
we
have
fixed
it.
Okay.
Okay.
and how much is the total of this contract?
This contract is $95,870.
And that includes the $50?
Yes, ma'am.
In other words, she can't exceed that 95,000.
right.
Yes, okay.
And so where's this money coming from? Is it,
This is a split between IDEA money. This is also, the general fund is charged with it too, but it's also Medicaid reimbursable. So it's not completely Medicaid reimbursable, but they do give us a portion of it back. And it is a service that we have to provide, so the IDEA grant helps supplement part of it as much as we can.
so my question was only, we have people who are coming and we're giving them that extra $50, even when they are doing 74. The previous person was doing only $7 per hour. This one is doing 74 and then asking for an additional $50 per hour. I just was wondering if we're paying people to come to work. We have principals from all over and out in the county and whatever, and we don't pay them. And when we have people from the district office that travels from one school to the other, and they have to there's a point person for Greenville, Lee, and Pinetta, then the high school and the central school from the district office. I've never seen whether they've received that pay. They
Okay.
use their own, they're on the clock just for regular pay, but then they're not receiving travel time.
So that is that. So that time between so if I as administrator travel to Greenville, I'm still paid my regular hourly rate. Nothing on top of it. I can ask for mileage reimbursement. This is just saying we were still paying you already, but we're not gonna pay you as much when
So
you
that's
travel.
exactly
It's a
what I'm
reduced
saying.
rate.
It's actually a reduced rate.
It's a
from
reduced
her.
But what I'm saying here, she's at $74. The previous lady's at $70. There's a big difference. And then
Miss,
she's getting that $50 in the
One of them's
previous.
a speech therapist, and the other one is.
It doesn't matter. I mean,
Occupation.
they're all doing the same. What I'm saying is travel.
But
They're all
The other one's
at the school.
Previous
traveling.
one is at
Not
the same
traveling.
school all day.
She's not
So
traveling.
she's
not
she never
traveling, so
travels.
she don't get extra.
That would be like me saying, I work for the district, I'm going from here to Lee, so we're paying her still while she's traveling from here to Lee, rather than saying, well, you gotta clock out, we're not gonna pay you your travel time. The other person doesn't travel, she's only at Pinetta.
Okay.
I discussed this with Mrs. Joseph earlier today, and she said she would refer to Mr. Reeves about it. So what is your take on this? Let's put it that way.
The issue that Ms. Joseph brought up was the fact that we've got a provision in that contract that says the travel time, if we're going to pay travel time, it has to be under Chapter 112. I'm sorry, travel expenses. It's my understanding none of these contracts provide for the payment of travel expenses, meaning mileage, per diem, all of that. This is paying for the hours, as I understand it, while they're on duty going between the school sites. There is nothing, it is within your discretion to have a contract that allows for that. You're not required to do it, you're not required not to. That is within your discretion to do that.
All right, now, let me get back to you, Ms. Ritchie. You said this has been going on, they've been getting travel pay.
Yes, ma'am. It's always been
But it was
included in their
incorporated in their pay,
hourly rate.
their
Yes, ma'am.
hourly rate.
And we were tight for money and saying that we need to renegotiate some of these contracts. We were not trying to save money as we're trying to save money now. Okay, and so we're going to, no other discussion about that, concerning that? Okay. We'll take the vote on Smith.
Madam Chair, I move to accept the contract with Smith Therapy Services.
I second.
It has been moved by Mrs. Knight, second by Mrs. Thompson, that we accept the contract with Smith Therapy. No other discussion. All in favor, please show your hands. All opposes? 4 for, 1 opposed. Ms. Hagan. 5.6, contract with John Palmer for physical services.
Okay, so Palmer Physical Therapy travels from Live Oak to come serve our students. We put out quotes last year for local physical therapists because we lost ours, and they were very hefty because it's such a small amount of kids that get served for physical therapy. So in order for them to leave their facility to come, the rates were really high. So Mr. Palmer's been traveling over from Live Oak. We split his fee to travel over here currently with Creative Arts because we have a couple kids with us and they have a couple. So we split that $50 fee. He only comes once a week, so it ends up being a $50 fee once a week to travel from Live Oak to come over here and serve our students.
What's the total amount of this contract?
Is $15,500.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion on that? John Palmer, physical service.
So he comes once a week, you said, but he's getting $50 for that one trip.
Yes, ma'am. So it's 25 here, 25 back. And like I said, we've been splitting it with Creative Arts.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we end up really just paying $25.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's our plan going forward, to split it with them.
With just him?
Yeah, he's the only one that
Okay,
that does that.
all
Yeah.
right. I move to approve the contract with John Palmer for physical therapy services.
I second.
It has been moved by Mrs. Gibson, second by Mrs. Knight, that we approve the contract with John Palmer for physical therapy services. Any discussion? There be none, we'll take the vote. All in favor of, please show your hands. 4 for, 1 dissent. Ms. Hagan. Okay. Ms. Richards, that's you? You finished?
Yes, for now. I have a few more contracts. They got thrown at the end of the agenda, so I'll be back later unless you want me to do them now.
That's what we're gonna take it out of order and go ahead with you.
Okay.
And I think you start, is it back with, 5.15?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, hold on. Let me find it. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
All right, so 5.15 is psychological services for schools and families with Miss Jackie Akers. She's our school psychologist. She has, this contract did not change from last year, but she does have two different rates. She has $125 an hour for direct services and $75 an hour for indirect services. And so that is the next one that's up.
5.15 got SRO on it.
Okay, Madam Chair, I move to
Hold
accept
on,
the,
excuse me, hold on a minute. My 5.15 has the SRO stuff on it. You know, I go by my book here.
yes, ma'am.
I don't even have that contract. I mean, I have it on paper, but I don't have it.
Oh, you're
where I
saying you don't
read
have the
it.
actual
Mhm.
contract. I'm
I don't
sorry.
have the actual contract, so I can't,
Do you want me to give you a copy, Miss Deanna?
you have one?
I do.
I'll give it right back. Well, all I want to know if it has this,
She doesn't have travel.
She does not have travel. No, ma'am.
okay, that's all. Well, you let me know who have traveled, you know? Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Spitchett.
Not a problem.
Okay, any discussion on the 5.15 contract psychological service with schools and families? If there be none?
I was in the middle of making a motion, so I
Oh,
need to
okay.
finish that.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair, I move to accept the contract with psychological services of schools and families.
Second.
It has been moved by Mrs. Knight, second by Mrs. Gibson, that we accept the contract for psychological services for schools and families. All in favor? Mrs. Bishop, 5-0. 5.16.
All right, 5.16, Miss Vieta.
I don't have
You need that
16, 17.
Okay, I'll just give them to you.
Does it have that thing in it?
It does have the travel,
Okay.
the reduced rate.
You can keep it.
Okay. Does anybody else need a copy of it? You got it? Okay. So the first one is Ms. Angela Brooks. And she does have the reduced rate of $50 per hour for travel between sites. She is a speech language therapist that does travel around the district for us.
Now, this, if I can ask a question, this $50, for instance, if you're going from Lee to Pinetta, that's not an hour. That's-
No, ma'am.
This is only part of an hour.
Yes,
let's say.
ma'am.
So
Yes,
it's
ma'am.
just
And-
it could be many trips to,
That's the hourly rate.
That's the
that's the
hourly
hourly
rate.
rate.
And honestly, when we averaged it, it was probably 2.5 to 3 hours for an entire month.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's not like we're just paying them to drive around. Okay, it
Yes,
is literally from
I
here to here.
understand.
Okay.
Well, I checked other districts when I seen all this. I checked Taylor County and Hamilton County, all of them have to pay travel.
And I'm not speaking on any other county, I'm speaking on Madison County only. And what we're talking about consolidating schools, and we're talking about saving money. So that's what I'm speaking only on Madison County, because I've been on this board before, and we have done this.
Yes, ma'am.
But I'm just speaking now to my personal opinion, that we should be saving money, that's all. And I'm on vote.
Yes, ma'am.
Members, board members, carry on.
Madam Chair, I move to accept the contract with Angela Brooks.
I second.
It has been moved by Mrs. Knight, second by Mrs. Thompson, that we accept the contract with Angela Brooks. No discussion, all in favor of, please show your hands. 4, against, 1, Ms. Hagan.
All right. And my final one is Stephanie Hall. She also has the $50 reduced rate while she's traveling between sites. She is another speech language therapist that travels around our district to serve our students.
Board members?
I move to approve the contract with Stephanie Hall.
I second.
It's been moved by Mrs. Gibson, second by Mrs. Knight, that we approve the contract with Stephanie Hall. Discussion, there be none, we'll take the vote. All in favor of? 4 for, 1 against. Sagan. Thank you.
All right.
Okay.
I'm
that's you.
done. Thank you for your time.
Okay, have a good day, thank you. So we will go back to 5.7, personnel changes. Mrs. Killingsworth.
Good evening, how are y'all doing?
Well, what about you?
I'm doing well.
Thank you.
This evening, we have 3 people, unfortunately, that have resigned. One at Pinetta, one at Lee, and then one within our bridge program. We have 1 employee that is transferring from Central to the high school this year. And then we have, at this time, 17 employees that we are requesting your approval for teachers. That being 3 of them at the high school, 2 for math, 1 for English, 1 at Greenville at this time, 2 at Lee Elementary, 3 at Pinetta, 6 at the Central School, and then 2 district positions. 1 is at MTSS, the other one is the reading. Those are the positions at the time, the date that we have, that I'm requesting for us to fill. As you know, this is the time of the year that you have a little bit of adjustment. So I will be bringing more names to you.
So how many additional teachers that you said that, so it's 1 for Greenville. How many additional teachers do we need at Greenville?
We'll need a couple more.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So nobody from the district wants to transfer over there?
At this
As of
time,
yet?
at this time, we have had no takers for that. And
Thank
there's
you.
also been a,
I saw it, yes, sir.
yes, ma'am.
Thank
That
you.
doesn't mean we won't stop, but that's just where we're at today. So
Yes, sir.
hopefully I'll be bringing some more names next meeting.
Thank you.
I move to approve the personnel changes.
I second.
It's been moved by Mrs. Gibson, second by Mrs. Thompson, that we approve the personnel changes. Discussion? There be none. All in favor, please show your hand. 5-0, Mrs. Bishop.
Thank y'all.
Thank you. Mrs. Joseph, 5.8, administrators,
Okay,
recommendation.
it's that time of the year I need to do administrative recommendations for the 24-25 school year. This is not saying they will be in this position 100% of the time, but as of July 1, I'll have the following people in the following position. Director, Robert Hill will be Director of Curriculum. Rose Ringneck is the Finance Director. Melinda Ritchie is Coordinator of ESC and Student Services. Barbara Thomas is the Coordinator of Assessment Accountability, Data and Quality. Rod Williams, Coordinator of Safety. Any other thing on your title? And Mental Health. Isaac Goyette, Coordinator of Technology Services. Ben Killsworth, Coordinator of Personnel. Supervisor Iris Wynn, Supervisor of Food Services. Tyrone Ansley is the Supervisor of Transportation. Tim Ginn is the Supervisor of Maintenance. Nick Gonzalez, he's Supervisor of Migrant Services and Truancy. Heather Moats, she's Supervisor of MIS Student Services. Confidential employees at this time is Becky Bishop, Sandra Fletcher, Linda Irvine. I have my principals and assistant principal as of July 1, Charles Brooks, Principal MCHS, Amanda Brown, Principal MCCS, Walter Self, Principal of Greenville Elementary, Yolanda Davis, Principal of Pinellas Elementary, Krista Minor, Principal Lee Elementary, Amanda Hurst, Assistant Principal at MCHS, Patrick White, Principal of Bridge, Natalie Jackson, Assistant Principal, MCCS, Pam Anderson, Assistant Principal, MCCS, and Ashley Lundy, Assistant Principal, MCCS. Those are my admin recommendations for July 1, 2024.
Thank you.
I've got an issue with it, and I'll tell you what it is. Changing directors and coordinators in different positions, and I've asked for what you just gave me, we've discussed this thoroughly, Mrs. Joseph and I. Okay, right now, today, until maybe July 1st, we know what they're gonna be doing. But not knowing what they're gonna be doing after that, because this is for 24, 25 year, I'm a little hesitant. This is about, committing to this. We've discussed it thoroughly, so I don't need
Mr.
to.
Attorney, just cause. Before, if we don't accept the recommendations, just cause, and you have to state them.
Yes. With any employee, of course, when the position's been created, the superintendent recommends someone for the position. The board is required to affirm that recommendation unless you have just cause to deny that. Is that what you're saying, or?
She wants to know who am I gonna put in Ben's place when Ben leaves. And
that
Ben
what
is
it is?
here
That's
right
part
now.
of it, that's part of it. But I know you don't have to commit to that right now either. So I think because of this changing director coordinator stuff, that's got me concerned. That's where the concern is right now. In other words, right now, to me, the director coordinator is the biggest position we have going. And now that's gonna become a lesser position, let's say. So that little whole thing right there has got me concerned.
Okay, so that I'm understanding what you're saying.
I have the same concerns. It's
Okay,
all of the
wait a
notes that I
minute,
have
let me,
written down as well.
Yeah.
Absorb on that.
Well, but it's more into the staffing allocation and the new job descriptions. It's not really, it doesn't really apply to this. We're really gonna have to dig deep in this
we're gonna
staffing allocation.
Right.
Okay, but I want to listen to what Ms. Gibson's saying so that I
Okay,
can
well,
understand what she's
I
saying.
don't have a problem with anybody, the recommendations, let's put it this way. I think maybe my concern maybe fall into another area right here.
Right, it does.
I think that's probably what I'm
You're jumping the gun.
I may be jumping the gun.
Yeah.
So right now, I don't have a problem with these people in these positions. I guess I'm looking, forward.
Rightfully so.
Okay. I've had my say.
Okay, I just, I understood you say you don't have a problem with any of them.
No,
And you're looking forward.
right, but maybe I shouldn't look
Forward.
forward right now. I have a tendency to look at the whole picture.
Okay.
And gets in my way sometimes, because in
That's
other
your-
words, not just look at what's,
Okay. That's
okay.
your,
That's my, okay, yeah.
and what you were saying, Mrs. Knight?
I have the same concerns Ms. Gibson
Okay.
does, but they're more, need to be dug into in the staffing allocation with the job descriptions, not necessarily this administrative
That's something
recommendation.
that you all will discuss with the
Yes, correct.
superintendent. Ma'am?
Yeah, we'll discuss it when we get to it on the
It's on.
agenda.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
In the meantime, I'll make a move. I move to approve the administrator's recommendation.
And I second.
Okay.
It's been moved by Mrs. Gibson, second by Mrs. Knight, that we approve that administrative recommendation. All in favor of?
Okay.
5-0, Ms. Bishop. Okay, 5-9, supplements, 11 and 12 months. Ms. Joseph?
Okay, these supplements for my 11 and 12 months, they are according to the union scale, which is a board approved, our head football coach, our athletic director, our band director. Is there another one?
And the FFA director.
And FFA director, because she has to go out there and feed the animals year-round. She can't go out there just 10 months and feed them. And there's a supplement, and that is in the approved union contract.
Okay.
Madam Chair, I move to accept the supplements.
I second.
Been moved by Mrs. Knight, second by Mrs. Thompson, that we approve the supplements. Discussion? None. All in favor? 5-0, Mrs. Bishop. I have 5.10, job descriptions. Mrs. Joseph?
Okay, these are the job descriptions that were brought to you last time. And one of the questions was that how much would these positions cost? And what I'm trying to do here, and first of all, I need to make a statement. Let's get people's names out of it. I'm trying to get a position created. I'm trying to get the position, job description to match what the person is going to do in that position. I'm not moving it whether it has nothing to do with this specific person, and we need to keep personalities out of this. Okay, what has happened is that we have our finance person, not our finance person, payroll person, she's retiring. July 31st is her last day. I've got to put something in place so August we can have a paycheck. That's the bottom line. I talked with the people in the finance department. Okay, this was not a demand, it was a request. Is there any way, because we're looking at cutting all in different phases, not just one place, not just one school. We know that how can we all buckle up and get in it together and own this, that we are doing a budget shortfall. They took, and no, I did not sit in there with them. They sit in, they says, we can split these duties up like this, and rather than 4 people doing the duties, we can have 3 people doing it, okay? And what I need to do, I need their job description to mirror what they're doing. Because right now, with Ms. Cruz leaving, payroll is under nobody's, and if we want a paycheck, it needs to be up under somebody's name. Okay, even if I have to hire a payroll, and that's not the only thing that she did. Okay, but that seems to be a bit of, okay, how much will it cost us? I'm not looking for a big pay raise, and you need to understand, I cannot make anybody confidential. None of us can make anybody confidential. That became a big part of our conversation before. I cannot make anybody confidential. To become confidential, after the position has to exist, and then you petition to PERT. And it's whether they do it or not, it's outside the jurisdiction of the county. And so what I am proposing to eliminate the quote payroll position itself that Ms. Cruz is in, okay, and rename them, and these are current job descriptions. And so by doing this is job description on the secretarial line, it will be a lateral move. And so I do not need to go out and do advertisement. I can do a lateral move from within. The payroll assistant 2 for payroll, finance assistant 2 for payroll and benefits, and a finance assistant 2 for procurement, accounts payable, and asset management. Okay, at this stage, if those positions are made available, I can move someone in those positions, and it's basically a $1,600 raise for them. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I understand what you're saying as far as the confidential things. But if we do, however, both of these positions are moved to confidential, the salary schedule for a clerical position versus a confidential salary, for instance, a clerical position from steps 0 through 17 is the same rate of pay. There is no jump. But if you're looking at the confidential pay scale from level 1 to level 10 with a high school diploma is a $6,500 a year raise.
Confidential people, these are annual employees. They have to be reappointed as opposed to a regular thing.
I understand what you're saying, but the scale is still that much different per employee. So if we're talking about 2 confidential employees, the difference, you don't get a raise as a high school diploma clerical employee until you reach step 18. And that's not even $500 a year. When you're talking about the pay schedule for somebody who's on a confidential pay scale, there are significant jumps annually in the pay scale. And we're talking about having 2 additional employees. So my question is, how are we really saving money if we're moving 2 people, we're taking away a position, but we're potentially, I know we can get into the legalities of PERT and everything else, but if we're trying to say that we want to put these people in confidential positions, are we really saving money if we're giving them this much of a pay scale difference? So that's my thing, is
Okay.
people need to understand that there's a vast difference in the pay scale for a confidential versus just a clerical position.
Okay, to further expound on what I was saying, when my present finance person moved in that position, she was new to that position, she had no experience in that. In addition to paying that person the cost of that salary, we contracted someone out $40,000 a year to train her, so we were basically paying $80,000 for that salary. So
Okay.
if I need to go and see if I can find a financial person, I'm gonna have to find someone to come in and train them, which would be approximately $40,000.
Okay, so now, another question. We have Miss Betsy, for instance. She's, correct me if I'm wrong, but is she on the confidential pay scale now?
No, she's not.
She's not. So why do we need 2 additional employees? I'm just, again, asking questions, both on a confidential pay scale.
Okay, our union negotiator, Attorney Dixon, spoke to me and said our payroll person needs to be confidential.
Okay, that's
So that's
understandable.
one position.
But why do we have potentially 2 that will be on a
I didn't
confidential?
tell you to.
Well, in our last meeting, that was stated.
That's how it was
Renee
discussed.
told you to. I told you my payroll person needs to be confidential.
And looking at these job descriptions, you know, it looks like the job duties that are additional and to be added are really being added onto one position. It's not really being split. It's one person taking the duties.
That's what I was going to add to this. I'm not going to mention names now, because we're
Okay,
talking positions.
positions,
Okay, one of them is doing insurance and payroll.
yes.
That's her, so, and according to what you said that Leonard Deason said, they should be confidential. I know Betsy wasn't, so I can understand that happening. But the other one pays bills and does inventory. This is what you told me today, so therefore, if paying bills, you don't need to be confidential. And now you just stated, Ms. Joseph, that
Okay.
you didn't recommend both of them.
I'm not
to-
recommending anybody, but if you ask me, am I going to recommend, right now, I have not recommended anybody because the position has to exist before I can recommend. Once they get recommended, I will be recommending the payroll person.
Okay, so, okay, now I understand that better, because I was under the impression, when I said 2 weeks ago, that you wanted to have 2 confidential people.
Well, that was
And that,
stated.
I brought that up, and so this got the ball rolling, you know, so now, that's a little easier pill to swallow, let's put it that way. So I think I'm good.
Okay. Ms. Knight, Ms. Thompson, you all are good?
So my
Frankie?
next,
Carol?
I do have a question.
Okay.
So if we vote to approve these job descriptions, will that come back to the board before it's decided whether one or both of these positions will be confidential?
I don't know, I'll have to talk with Attorney Deason about that.
Okay, I know it's going to be ultimately up to the state to approve this. But again, I can see payroll, as you said, Leonard Deason said this is a must. So if it's a must, we need to do that.
And that's
Okay.
understandable.
But the other
Even though
thing-
he said it, we need to understand, he doesn't speak for PERT. That was his recommendation.
Right, that-
Okay, whether it will pass or not, I don't know.
Right.
I've never personally dealt with PERT before.
So you all know how to form your motion.
Okay.
Okay, so, Madam
okay.
Chair, I move to accept the recommendations of the job descriptions without confidential pay scale included.
Can I make a suggestion?
Tell me.
Okay, yeah.
I think maybe the way to handle it would be to approve the job descriptions and then have Mr. Deason come and appear before here, because it is up to PERC as to whether or not, but it's up to this board which ones you ask PERC to make confidential. So if Leonard's got a real good reason, he can come and explain that to y'all, and y'all can make a decision. It doesn't, you know, and so I think maybe before he files an application to make either of these confidential, ask him to come back
Yeah,
and
because
explain it to
I'm
the
just
school.
not for giving, I mean, like, and I'm not saying everybody doesn't work hard, but we're in a financial crisis and we're not giving our teacher raises. We shouldn't be giving raises to everybody else right now.
So
I
you
mean,
all
I'm sorry.
are
You can make all the
satisfied?
faces you want to, but
You're
that's the truth.
satisfied if it's just one?
Obviously, payroll has already been recommended.
That's exactly, that's what I'm asking.
Correct.
Well,
That is good with me. I understand the need for payroll to be.
So how should they form that, Mr.?
so if everybody's good with that one position, maybe say
Then come
that
back to
approve
the-
both the positions, but if he wants the other position to be confidential, he needs to bring that
Okay,
back to the board.
okay. So, Madam Chair, I'll amend my motion, and I move to accept the position recommendations with the payroll and benefits to be deemed confidential, and for the second position to be brought up to the board
You got that, Ms.
for
Fisher?
approval.
Can we vote to have these people confidential right now, because the position has to be.
Well, if it's approved.
It's not going to be,
I think all that, you can approve the job descriptions, and you can approve as to what Mr. Dietz is going to
Okay.
request per.
Correct.
To make.
Right,
and
that it will
I
come
think-
back to the board.
I think what you're saying is the one position, he's already authorized to go ahead
Correct.
and request to PERC that it be confidential.
Correct.
The other position, he needs to come back to the board
Correct.
before he does that.
Correct.
So form that in a motion, please, so that Ms. Fisher can understand that.
Madam Chair, I move to accept the employment recommendation positions,
Job description.
their job descriptions,
And then which one are
and
we saying it's okay?
the payroll benefits position has already been recommended by Mr. Dietz
As confidential.
as confidential, and prior to
Which one's
the
first?
approval of the procurement accounts payable person being deemed confidential, that it will be presented to the board.
Ms. Fisher, did you get that?
And-
You're
and I-
getting it?
And I think it's before Mr. Dietzen requests to PERC to make that a confidential position, that it be brought back to him.
now, I'd like to, I'm glad that we didn't go out and buy.
Wait a minute, I need a
Okay.
second on that.
Oh, it's,
I second.
okay.
Been moved by Mrs. Knight with her, say it again, Ms. Knight. Because I can't remember it.
Whatever you said the last
I'm
time.
telling you, because I can't remember it.
Can
It's
I-
a long
Can
one.
I take a stab?
Yes, sir.
Approve both job descriptions. The first position, Mr. Dietzen's authorized to request be confidential. The second position, he's got to bring back here before he's authorized to request it be
Okay,
confidential.
okay.
And, okay, it's been moved and seconded. Who seconded?
Me.
Mrs. Thompson seconded. No more discussion, all in favor?
No, she has
I
discussion.
have one,
Oh.
one comment. I want to
Okay.
thank Mrs. Joseph for not recommending a new position for payroll.
Okay.
And I want to thank the people that took on added responsibilities. So that's all I had to say about that. I mean, I'm glad that happened.
All in favor of the motion, please show your hand. 5-0, Ms. Bishop. Thank you all.
Okay.
All right. We're going right into 5.11, contract for IT services. Mr. Goet?
Hello. Yes, so this is an extension of the contract that we've had for this past year with Scott Davis, who's doing contract IT work for special projects through next year. Same pay rate, same hours, 30 hours a week.
What to say, same pay rate, same?
Yeah.
Okay,
Grant funding,
Same as the current contract.
okay.
and that's grant funding.
Yes,
Yes.
it's being funded out of our.
I move we approve the contract for IT services.
I second.
It has been moved by Mr. Carroll, second by Mrs. Thompson, that we approve the contract for IT service. Comments, discussions?
Yes, I have a comment. How did we come up with the $20 an hour?
That's just what I negotiated with him.
Oh, well, he accepted it then, I guess? Oh, okay. Okay, thank you. Because I think he's worth more.
All in favor, please show your hand. 5-0, Ms. Bishop. Thank you, Mr. Isaac.
Thank you.
5.12, mechanics contract.
Mr. Anderson's out of town at a conference, and this is we've got 2 mechanic position on our staffing table, and we only have 1.5, and he works part-time, and he wants to be a contract worker at $22 per hour, and he's a certified bus inspector also. And he works no more than 20 hours per week, and yes, this is coming out of general fund.
I move to approve the mechanic contract.
Second.
It has been moved by Mrs. Gibson, second by Mr. Carroll, that we approve the mechanics contract. Any discussion? All in favor, please show your hands. 5-0, Ms. Bishop. Okay, 5.13, permission to advertise code of student conduct.
Good evening.
Good evening.
We are requesting that we go ahead and advertise the code of conduct.
So when are we gonna have that workshop?
Whatever date you guys want to set.
We have to have
You have a
a-
suggestion?
I got a couple suggested
Okay.
dates. I've been vacationing a couple of weeks. June 25th,
We got some for the 24th.
That's
Board
a
members.
Tuesday of next week. We've got our workshop that Monday night.
And that one begins at 6. I think we discussed that
Yes.
the last time.
or June 26th.
I can't do the 26th.
Okay. You say you're gonna be on vacation,
Starting the 27th.
the
Yes, ma'am.
27th?
You said June 25th or June 26th?
25th or the 26th is what I have.
26th is good, 25th is good for me.
I'm fine.
25th is good for everybody?
I'm good with that.
Okay,
What time?
6,
What's good for you guys?
6 p.m.
6
I
p.m.?
can do day, night, whenever.
June 25th, Tuesday, June 25th at 6 p.m.
Yes, ma'am. And then June 24th at 6 p.m. Board members,
That works.
Works for me.
Sounds good to me.
advertise. Permission to advertise a code of student conduct.
Yes, ma'am.
Madam Chair, I move to grant permission to advertise the student code of conduct.
Second.
It's been moved by Mrs. Knight, second by Mr. Carroll, that we grant permission to advertise a code of student conduct. Any questions?
Are we advertising it before we
We've-
workshop it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
It can be advertised, and if we need to make any changes, then we can make them when we go
Okay.
through it. All in favor of? 5-0, Mrs. Bishop. You're welcome. 5.14, public hearing and adoption of social studies curriculum. This meeting is now open to the, for public hearing. If there be no one from the public, one time, it's open to the public hearing. 2 times, open for public hearings. 3 times, open for public hearings. There be none, the meeting is now closed to public hearings. Board members,
I move to approve the adoption of the social studies curriculum.
I second.
been moved by Mr. Carroll, second by Mrs. Knight, that we approve the adoption of the social study curriculum. Discussion?
I was going to ask Mrs. Hill if it was approved by the DOE. I'm assuming it is.
I think she-
They on
She
the.
said that the last time.
It's got to be on the
adopted-
list.
They on
Okay.
the adopted list.
Okay.
All in favor, show your hands, please. 5-0, Mrs. Bishop. So we're down to 5.18, financial report.
Okay, let me help you with the financial report. Ms. Jamie, your answer is in the financial report. Let me pull it up.
I left mine home, I did see it.
Staff and allocation plan. Oh, boy, I can't do it as fancy as Miss Lady, but I can do it now.
Mine doesn't look like yours. Mine's totally different.
That bottom was,
I'm saying mine's not
I
even.
did read
mine's
that.
totally different.
She gave us something and saying, you know, that the fund balance would go down
Oh, I gotcha.
because we
I
had
was gonna
that big
say, I
insurance
thought it
payment to
was.
pay.
Oh,
Um,
okay. I see.
But I left mine home, she sent that up under the email.
16.9 in early May. Current is 10.86.
And you know, I can get my emails on
Okay,
this phone.
I've got it.
But I can't get my early, so I'm gonna see if how's it gonna work with me on that.
okay, give me a second, people. I Okay, I was a little confused. On our fund balance, on our Fund 100, we have taken in a whole lot of money and we're putting out a whole lot. Yeah, with that.
But I remember,
I'm trying to find out where the fund balance was. The big deal is with our Fund 100, we made a big $1 million payment on our insurance because our insurance premium went up drastically.
was it that we made that insurance payment because now we had to make it in a lump sum? We couldn't make it in partial installments like we've been used
That's
to.
part of it, baby, that's not all of it.
Well, that was just helping you.
That's helping us. I wish it was all, and as Ms. Knight can attest, Fizbit had gone up drastically. And their income is drastically hurt, so we usually pay after July, but they need their money quicker. Our fund balance as of right now is 10.86%. Okay?
Unrestricted.
Unrestricted. Okay? The other part I can't tell you, but it's somewhere within that paper. That's our fund balance is 10.86%. And that came about because of us having to make that lump sum payment. But again, that's not all of our all of our insurance. Okay, Fund 200 is to pay for high school renovation, and we've got we've taken in $251,710. We spent $22,630, but the difference, we're gonna get a big bill July 1 to pay for high school renovation. Fund 300, okay, we've taken in $1.8 million. We've spent $940,000, but we're using this money to support paying for the chillers. And so with some of the money that Ms. Again was talking about in this, even we're gonna have some extra money, we still, the chillers is gonna cost over $3 million. So we're gonna have to find some money from different sources to pay for the chillers. Fund 410, that's the food service fund. The fund balance is drastically decreasing, and that was the big part of that because the price of our supplies have increased and our wages increased drastically because this account pays for their wages. And remember, we went from $11 for $15 an hour without any assistance, and so that's one of the reasons their fund balance is decreasing. Fund 4200, this is your title grants. Basically, you're spending and you don't have any left over. It's usually a wash. We've taken in 55%, we spent 58%, and some part waiting for reimbursement. And so basically, we spend what we take in. The next one, Fund 4330, that's an old ESSER, and that's dead. We're through with that one. Fund 4440, that's an old ESSER. Again, that's dead. Fund 4450, that's our big ARP. Again, that's a wash. We spend what we take in. And our last one is our little ESSER 4460. And these projects end September 30th, and basically they are a wash. I don't have any other comments. Do you have any questions? See if I can answer anything.
On the ESSER money, which I know it expires on September 30th,
Yes, ma'am.
has it been spent?
All of them have not been spent. That's why we have some money to help pay for those children, and we're trying to get them encumbered before September 30th. We probably would not spend 100%, but we're gonna come close to spending 100% of it. And anything that's not spent, we'll have to send back.
I hate sending money back.
We hate sending money back, but with our federal monies, there's restrictions on things you can spend them on. Yes, we've had some POs for certificates, graduation prizes, costumes and stuff, food. federal money, we can't buy them with, but everything that's allowable that the schools have asked to purchase, we purchased them.
Thank you.
Board members, as presented.
I move to approve the financial report.
I second it.
As presented. It's been moved that, by Mrs. Gibson, that we approve the financial report, second by Mr. Carroll. Questions, discussion? All in favor, please show your hand. 5-0, Ms. Bishop. Thank you. Okay, 5.19, purchase of three additional vans.
Okay, this goes to one of the questions that Ms. Gibson asked me earlier. These vans will be purchased out of our money. We had to get approval, and we had to amend the agenda to buy the vans. Because otherwise the money would have gone back. Okay, that was not the original purpose. Now, what's the purpose of the vans? You've got two vans, they're not bidded out, but you were using the same bids that basically we used a couple of months ago when we bought those vans. All vans that are less than state contract, which allow us to not have to bid, but this person will be with the previous vendor and the bids we provided. It will be ARP approved funding. Two vans is $44,777. The third van is a little bit more because it will be used by the IT department. It will not be owned by the IT department. And the rationale behind that is that we have schools outspread, okay? They need something that they can put the different, you want to explain your van, the van that you're going to be using, how we're going to retrofit it, or why it costs more than the other ones?
Yeah, it's a large cargo van. It doesn't have back seats in it. It's a high top like you'd see for deliveries and stuff. It has a large cargo capacity shelving in it. Because this district, we don't have a vehicle that can move stuff. We use our own personal vehicles when we deliver Chromebooks and different things like that. Moving sound equipment for graduation, any of that kind of transport stuff. We don't have the little minivans just won't quite do it.
Okay, because I did have a question. It was three vans, and in my report, it had three different prices, because I saw a price for $44.77, $55.387, and then another for $57.183. So that was, you've answered that last question about the cargo. It's going to be with the 57?
Yeah, the price for the van, I think the window sticker for the van was attached, but with the cargo bed capabilities and stuff, it's $57,183.
Okay.
Let me ask you a question now. I don't begrudge the purchase of the vans, okay? And I know you need that for what you're due to. Okay, we're like kind of at the 11th hour with this ESSER money. And, I mean, it's going to expire in September, right? September?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. This money, which is quite a bit of money that we're talking here, could this have been used in our schools for anything, let's say?
We purchased everything they've asked for that was allowable.
Okay, so
Everything they've asked for that was allowable, we have purchased them that fit in with our present curriculum.
and I know you have restrictions on the money. I realize that. Okay, because it just seems like it's a lot of money left over, you know, so we had to spend it fast, and this is what we did, 3 vans right here.
So we're getting,
And the vans help us in that we've got a lot of special trends, and that way we don't have to use a bus to take a single child way doing South 40 in Pinetta. Okay, for example, if the tennis team is going to a meet, it's less than 8 of them. They can use the van rather than having to take a big bus, and transportation costs a whole lot less, things like that. When our staff goes on trips, using a district vehicle is a whole less than me driving my vehicle. You pay me 58.5 cents a mile.
Thank you.
Questions, any other questions or discussions?
So we just recently purchased, how many vans was it that we purchased?
We bought two.
Two, okay, and so we're buying, you're proposing that we buy 2 more of those same vans for a total of 4 new Chrysler Pacificas
And then a cargo van.
and then a cargo van. And we have until, with the ARP, that is until September 30th. To piggyback off of what Ms. Gibson said earlier, you said that we have purchased everything that's been requested if it meets the requirements for ARP. But has there been a specific memo sent out to the principals to say, hey, we've got this additional funding. Is there anything else you need before this funding expires?
I don't know whether it was stated like that, but we have sent out and asked them, do they need to purchase anything else? Before the deadline, the POs were cut off. And we got back things. One of the things that we had to stop from buying because they wanted to buy some copy paper. You know, the humidity and the dampness, buying 1 or 2 of those big cases is fine, but to be stuck in a room and all that humidity, all that paper will waste. And so that's one thing that we cut back on. I think we limited the outlying schools to 2 pallets.
Well, okay, my next question, do we have a specific list of
Yes,
items?
they've got a list of allowable purchases.
Okay,
But we still have a couple months left on this, and we're getting ready to start a new school year. So why wouldn't we just pause this before we spend the money and make sure with new staff coming in that there's not something that was overlooked before I'm saying we need to use the money, but I'm just saying we have a little bit of a window here.
We've done that.
well, and that's what, but I would like for us to be able to say, hey, we have this much money, needs to be spent, one last call, specifically say, hey, is there anything specifically you need that we can help you with prior to September
And
30th?
give them a list, something that's
I
allowable.
think so,
Yeah.
I think so.
So can we purchase, the cargo van and 1 van, and then we have some money left to see if,
I actually would, I'm gonna make the motion that we approve the purchase of the cargo van and not the Chrysler Pacifica vans at this time.
I'll second that.
you moved it?
I
That
did,
is-
yes, ma'am.
okay. It has been moved by Mrs. Thompson, second by Mrs. Gibson, that we purchase a cargo van and not the other 2. Any other discussion?
Well, I got to say, and I speak, because I was in athletics, and it's hard to get a bus when you got a team that needs to go and be there and leave school, you can't get a bus.
A team won't fit into a van.
But
Well, see, a
tennis
wrestling,
will.
a wrestling and tennis
Oh,
will.
they took 6 kids to state and they drove a bus.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, that's,
Well, but
Come on now.
my
What, and
point,
weightlifting, you don't have that many in weightlifting.
but we
weightlifting.
just purchased 2 brand
Yes,
new ones
they have-
already.
in
though.
addition to
That's-
what we have already.
That's what I'm saying.
So
We
what I'm
just-
saying is you got 5, especially in the spring now, you got all these teams in the spring and, you can't get a bus.
And then we have to transport ESC students, and some ESC students can't
I'm
be
not saying, I'm
transported
not
with the
saying,
regular,
I'm
on the
not
regular
saying, I'm
yellow
just
bus.
saying that, in all actuality, we need to get a cargo van and then one of them little 15 passenger vans where it don't take
You can't
CDLs
use
to go.
15 passenger vans. They're not allowable to transport students.
We can't
We've
use
tried
that.
that.
All right.
Okay, but we
Leon
need
County
them.
got
I'll
17,000
tell you
of
what
them.
the transportation man from this DOE's told us. We
They haul
cannot.
them over here every day,
Okay.
every time we come.
Well, then he
They
would
can
not-
do-
That might be
I
a
guess they can do it.
12-passenger
We can't.
van.
Okay, question. How many vans and/or SUVs that are 7 to 8 passenger do we currently have in our fleet?
I'm trying to tell you, that's what I'm calling, okay? We've got a homeless van, we've got a migrant van, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 vans dedicated for ESE, special transit, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for regular use.
So we have 12 total already. That's my point is,
Okay.
I would like to just offer the opportunity to make sure our teachers and our schools are taken care of and that they have absolutely
They do.
everything they need prior to the purchase of.
And we can always go back to this.
Correct.
Pass it down.
Okay, we did
That's
have a
all I
motion.
have. I just
Okay,
need-
thank you. Well, I have a motion and a second on the floor, and what was that motion to purchase the
To
cargo
purchase the
van?
cargo van and
Okay.
to table the purchase of the Chrysler Pacifica vans.
I'm going to vote for this because I want that cargo van, but I do want an additional van. So, all in favor, please show your hands. We won't punish you, Mr. Isaac.
No,
5-0.
Just don't be
You
speaking.
got something,
okay, that works.
something.
They can throw the tennis team in the back and go to Madison.
I'm telling you, Frankie, we'll work on that with the rest of the board members. Okay. 5.20, Florida Department of Emergency Management Funding Agreement.
Okay, Mr. Reeves, let me start with that, you can finish with it.
Sure.
Okay, this is a non-interest bearing loan from DOE Public Assistance Program to help offset the initial lump sum payment due to work from the hurricane. Okay. It would give us money up front, and we have to put it into an interest-bearing account. They're not gonna charge us any interest, they're gonna give us all the money, we have to put it in an interest-bearing account. Okay? And we can only use the money to pay back, FISBIT or Emergency Advantage, the company that's been working with us, for hurricane deductibles that we think will be reimbursed by FEMA. As FEMA money comes in, FDEM, Florida Department of Emergency Management, will keep it, okay, the money, when we file a FEMA claim, FEMA, when they reimburse us, they're gonna give the money, they're gonna pay the loan back for us, we won't see the money. Okay? And we won't have to give back, okay, anything that we don't use, we have to give it back, and whatever interest that was earned into account, we give it to them.
To the emergency management.
Okay, now, the loan is only for $4.1 million. I think that's it, but 4.5. And when we were talking about deductibles at during those town hall meetings, we were talking about the bill was gonna be 5.3 million. Okay, this is the amount that could possibly be reimbursed by FEMA. Okay? Now, the difference is that money's gotta come out of our general fund. So don't say, our bill has not been reduced to 4.5 million. The bill is still there, but that other part is gonna have to come out of general fund. Mr. Reeves?
Yeah, the total amount is on page 19, Exhibit 1, that $4,532,793.40. I think the advantage here is you presently are going to owe the money, right? So what they're talking about is an interest-free loan that lets you go ahead and pay the money. The idea being it's going to bridge the gap between what has to be paid now and when the FEMA payments come in. I don't really see a downside to it. The issue, and I really kind of like the way they're doing it. So they give us the money, we stick it in an account, and then we pay our portion of the deductibles out of that account. So it, hopefully it's going to be very, very simple accounting, right? All the money goes into this account. There should be transfers out to FISBIT, and then the FEMA payments coming in are used to pay back the Department of Emergency Management.
And the money that's in those accounts, that's their money anyway.
Yeah.
It's not our money, it's their money. So by right, and I'm just thinking they should get that interest because I'm thinking that it's a win-win situation for us. Instead of taking that money out of general fund and we got a big reduction in general fund.
And at the point, the people that have been working
But
with
it's been
us,
explained, you all have read it, haven't you?
the people have been working with us since hurricane, we have not given them one penny. Okay, that's almost a year that we haven't paid anyone. And how much longer can he pay us before he start harassing us about bill pay? And so this is a way we can start paying our bill. And we need to understand FEMA money is not coming in tomorrow. It might be up to 5 years before we get all
Okay.
that FEMA money in.
Board members, you've heard and you've listened. Do you have any discussions or concerns about that?
I understand it. I mean, I think it's, like Mr. Reeves said, I think it's probably the
Okay,
best.
it's up to us as board members.
I move to approve the Florida Department of Emergency Management funding agreement.
I second.
Who second?
Ms. Gibson.
Okay, it has been moved by Mr. Carroll, second by Mrs. Gibson, that we approve the Florida Department of Emergency Management money and all their conditions. Any other discussion? All in favor, please show your hands. 5-0, Ms. Bishop. 5.21, School Resource Officers Contract. Officer.
Okay, Madam Chairperson, this is basically the same contract that we had last year. It's for 6 SROs serving our district schools for a total fee of $331,500.
So there has not been any increase in that?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
Madam Chair, I move to accept the contract with the Madison County Sheriff's Office for SROs.
I would second it.
It has been moved by Mrs. Knight, second by Mr. Carroll, that we accept the School Resource Officer contract. Discussion?
Yes, there's a little something in that contract that caught my eye. We know that they provide DARE instruction for the 5th graders. It says, instruct and administer curriculum beyond the DARE curriculum to all students throughout the Madison County School District, relating to behavior trends being experienced within the school district. I don't know if that's happening. In other words, we know that DARE is happening to 5th graders, but according to this, there should be some instruction, which we don't expect them to be in the classroom all day, 5 days a week. But according to this, there should be something beyond the DARE.
And there
Okay,
is
Ms.
some
Gibson
programs
talked with me about
And maybe
that,
they
and
can maybe they
I
can-
told Ms. Gibson that I will have the person that's over the DARE, not the DARE, the SROs will come in at our next board meeting and do a
Good.
presentation.
Yes, thank you. Just something that piqued
SRO,
my curiosity.
Any other discussion by any board members? Motion, please.
I already motioned and seconded.
That's right. All in favor? 5-0. Okay, 5.22, Staff and Allocation Plan.
Okay, most of our staff, and I'll just put the whole thing back in there, and most of our staff and allocation plan has been approved, other than, on page 5, the finance assistance 2, the one in bold, that was not approved because the position was not approved. And the ESC receptionist clerk, we put 2 of those back in there because I had not, when I brought that to you, someone from the ESC department told me, but it seems like they were not in agreement and I had not talked with them, and I do not want disgruntled employees. And so that position is put back in there. And so basically the only major change is the positions that you approved tonight, the job description and the finance assistance 2.
I move we approve the staff and allocation plan, the 2 additions.
Do we have a second? No second?
We already approved it one time.
Well, yeah,
That's the only thing we ain't approved.
it's those 2 additionals. I'll pass to Gavin second. I second.
Have a second.
Any discussion?
Okay, so going into discussion, I think this goes back to the point that Ms. Gibson was trying to make earlier. Looking at the staffing allocation plan, we're making a lot of job description changes, which equate to dollar amounts and raises. We're changing job descriptions from coordinators to directors, and some things like that. There's a coordinator position on here that was not previously here.
Can you read the full name of that?
Let's see, director, or, so the one that's being changed is the
Okay.
HR position, which you're
Yes.
familiar with that one. And then we have a federal programs compliance secretary that we have not had in the past.
That was approved last week.
Okay, and then we've got, the other one we've already talked about. We have supervisors for both transportation and maintenance. Is that a little bit of overkill? Are we, you know,
We've
again?
always had that.
I understand that,
Okay,
but I mean,
No.
these are, you know, we're
That's
talking about
them.
cutting dollars. I'm asking questions here. Like, are we repeating positions?
No, ma'am, no, ma'am.
Okay.
That's pushing it. They even asked for an assistant transportation person. I said, no, sir, no, ma'am.
Okay. You know, and then what are we, like, you're changing the job description here for the HR person.
Okay, the the HR person, okay, when Mr. Kilsworth was placed in that position was downgraded to a coordinator position. You follow me so far? Okay, the duties of that position is really extensive, okay? They will be informed out with no extra pay. Okay, I need to find someone because that's a very crucial job position in any organization, your personnel person. It's a major and I need someone to be able to do all of those particular duties that's aligned with the personnel position. And so I want to change that position back to personnel. That position already exists in our job bank. So I don't have to create a new position. I just need to get it approved.
Okay, but again, we're talking, this is, everything is going to equate to, in Ms. Gibson's words, to dollars. So
Okay.
changing this job description, how much is that equating to in dollars? Because again, like, we're trying to
Okay.
justify giving out raises in areas, but we're not doing it in the areas that are actually impacting our children.
Okay, the second part of that, going along with the director of personnel, right now my curriculum is a director. I want to move that down to a coordinator. And so basically, I'm flip-flopping and they will basically zero out, basically it will probably come out less. Because
But basically, and actually having solid numbers and
because I don't-
supporting documentation, that's what makes it hard for us. Like, I feel like you're doing a little cloak and dagger routine on us, where, like, you know, look over here while I do this over here. You know, and we need to be as transparent as we can possibly be with people and with your board members, so that we actually know what you're doing, and it's in black and white, and there's no gray area.
Okay, I do not know, contrary to what Papa believes, that I know who's going to be in position. If a position have not
I don't
been-
care who it is.
No,
I'm
no,
talking
no,
about the
I
money
need
that
to-
comes
I
with
need to
the
finish my
change.
statement, okay? I need to finish my statement. Contrary to Papa beliefs, I do not have any preconceived notions for some positions, okay? What I'm trying to do, I want to move Ms. Hill from a coordinator, from a director position to a director position. Her salary will not change, okay? The coordinator position will, the curriculum position will downgrade to a coordinator, okay? Mr. Killingsworth is on the high end of the coordinator scale, okay? Whomever goes in that position, who I don't know because the position have not been advertised, I do not preconceive in, okay, they will not be at the top end of the scale like him. And so exact dollars and cents, I can't tell you because I don't know who's going to apply for the position.
You know, when Leonard Dixon was here, he mentioned this is where we save money on these positions. Now, I can't see a savings by making the director of curriculum a coordinator of curriculum, and they flip-flop this stuff. And not only that, I see nothing wrong. You said moving Miss Hill. If she doesn't want to do curriculum,
It's
then
not
she can
about if she
do,
not want to do curriculum. I think she would do a jam-up job in personnel and would fulfill all the duties in that position.
Okay, but you just said that you didn't determine that position yet.
No, I told you the coordinator position for curriculum, I don't know who's going to be that is, because that's not advertised yet.
okay, well, the way I can relate to this, for instance, I'm a teacher making $50,000, let's say. And I say, well, I think I'll become a para. Well, guess what? That money doesn't go with me. In other words, if you want to switch to a different, no problem. She does a good job, I say, where she's at, she'll do a good job no matter where she's at. But I feel like this is what's, in other words, just like I said, if I switch positions, that doesn't mean I make the money that I've been making all
But
along.
if you are at a coordinator, a director position, and you move to a director position, your pay stays the same.
Well, okay, now,
That's what I want to move
You're
from
making-
one director position to another director position. Her pay will stay the same.
Right
She
now-
will not get a raise.
okay, right
Other
now,
than-
Mr. Killingsworth is a coordinator.
Yes,
He
ma'am.
is not a director, so he's getting paid accordingly. Okay, you said you're going to move her to his position.
Yes.
That means
make her
that's a
director.
coordinator.
And
Okay.
make it a
Her
director,
position
though.
is being
Well, I know you
downgraded.
want to change it. This is why. All right, I've put my case out there. This is,
But her position has, I want to downgrade the coordinator position, the curriculum position to a coordinator position.
well, that was just my 2 cents, and I say curriculum is number one in this. That should be, that is the top, that's the top of the scale. That's what it always has been. It's very important, the curriculum.
But
That's
you
not,
can't
a-
have a curriculum without the personnel director. The personnel director directs everything.
well, everybody's important, everybody's
Of
important.
course, but no, you just said.
But I
One
mean,
was more important than the other. And I'm just saying that we have to have a director of personnel in order to get that, everything we need for that curriculum person. That director of personnel does the advertisement for the hiring and all that stuff.
oh, they're very important, we know that.
But I just
But
was
this
repeating what
switching
you said
around
about
stuff,
one was more important than the other. Then you
Okay.
just said it wasn't.
Everybody is important.
That's
Every
exactly-
single
Everybody is
moving
important.
part.
And the point I was making, that you can't get that curriculum unless you gotta have a director of personnel.
I
That's
think-
the driving force, that's the steering person
It-
that
we-
does all the
I think we're being
advertisement.
I
nitpicky
agree.
right now, when at the end of the day, the bottom line is, we want to see where the dollars and cents are going to be saved. It doesn't matter.
It's not going to be a major
You wasn't so
savings.
concerned
I didn't
about
tell
that
you-
with the other
I didn't tell you
contracts.
We were going to have a major savings yet.
That was, if you want to
With
talk about
those
the other
$50.
contracts, we were saving money. That was a reduced rate prior to, from
It
what
was
was
not.
previously. Yes, it was. Yes, it was.
I did not say we were going to do a major savings. I said this would be better for our organization.
Okay, but we were presented that there was going to be savings and there was going to be cuts at the district level, just like there would be at the school
We did cut at the
level.
district level.
Yeah.
We're not filling the federal programs position. We're not filling that. And I'm not asking you to give anybody that money. We're not filling that position. But this has been approved. There's only two things on this that's not been approved, are the two things in italic. In bold.
So we've discussed it. What's the pleasure of the board? Sir?
Chairman,
Yes, sir.
you passed the gavel, so it's got to be.
Oh,
Oh, I gotta do it?
Yes, sir.
All right, we can discuss, any more discussion?
I would just like to say that when we take this vote, as it was previously stated, we've already approved this. For the record, it's already been approved. The only thing we're approving is the additional positions. So when your vote, it needs to reflect only those positions. The previous positions we just discussed with Ms. Joseph have already been approved at the prior school board meeting.
so we're discussing the two new ones.
Yes, ma'am.
Which is
Yes.
finance
The
direct
finance
assistant two
Yes.
and
then-
ESE receptionist.
So what we want to know is, are we going to add those two?
Yes.
Okay?
We've already approved the job descriptions.
Frank again?
All right, it's been, the motion's been made, and seconded. We've had discussion. Now, all,
In
in favor of the new positions added to the personnel allocation plan that's already been approved, except for these two. Finance assistant
It's four
two,
positions.
It's four positions.
four positions,
Yes, sir.
two categories.
Yes.
Finance assistant two and ESE clerk. All in favor, raise your hand. All opposed? 4-1. Ms. Bishop. 4,
Ms. Gibson,
1,
name her name.
Ms. Gibson,
Dissent.
didn't vote for it.
I think you didn't have to
Okay,
bring
so
that gavel.
Okay. Other items of interest, so we'll start as it lists, superintendent, attorney, and then board members.
Okay, at your seat tonight, you should have seen a flyer. The district is planning on a rally in the park on August the 10th from 9 until 1. And I'm getting this out early because I need mass participation from the school. We are going to be giving out book bags to each child in the district. The charter schools will be participating as well. I'm working with the chamber. They're going to be helping us. We're going to be sending out a letter. And the chamber has offered to be a collection site for us. Food will be available. And Ms. Hubbard has so graciously agreed to help myself and Ms. Williams with this. And right now, not today, but all during the summer, yes, we do have enough book bags and supplies to provide one for each child in the district. The logistics of it, I don't have it yet, but as we progress, I will do it. And if you get the letter from the chamber, you should see this flyer in that memo. Any questions?
Please explain to them why I was asked to do this and why I was so graciously happy to accept.
Ms. Hubbard so graciously accepted because she believes in the children, but in her former life, she has done rallies in the park.
The first one, give me my credit.
And so when you have expertise, you need to use it. You don't recreate the wheel. And so she so graciously says she will assist me. And so we will be sending out memos. One big thing, tell your friends this is not a political rally. Whatever political requirements we have on campus, it's going to be the same thing up there. Okay?
It's a school function, school thing.
Next thing, Ms. Knight, you didn't think I didn't know. Ms. Knight was at the FSBA meeting. She was recognized for being a certified board member. Am I right? Okay. She's got her certification. Congratulations, Ms. Knight.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Okay, we've got a date for the student code of conduct workshop. Monday night, 6 o'clock, that is the restructuring workshop with Dr. Brown to present his report. Okay, June 25th at 6 o'clock, that's a Tuesday night, Monday night, Tuesday night, code of conduct meeting. As soon as I get the report, I will email it to you from Dr. Brown. That's all I have.
While you're on that, can I ask a question?
Yes.
I know that we traditionally don't live stream our workshops, but I would really like for us to consider either moving that meeting to a bigger venue or live streaming that workshop so the public can hear his recommendations.
That, I emailed you about that, and it was going to be one of the things I brought up as well. I think that because of the caliber and the importance of the meeting, that the general public is going to want to be a part of that, and clearly this room is not going to accommodate the amount of people that showed up to the town hall meeting, so if we're not going to live stream, it really does need to have a different location.
Okay, if the board is the one that said that, y'all want to set a different location?
I say live stream.
I do as well.
Because everyone can, yes, they can have access to
Okay,
that.
live stream is going to be a problem.
Well, I'm not here Monday. I'm at a conference.
But we can have it at a larger location.
I mean, I'd say live streaming would be preferable to moving it. I could see if one of my staff's available.
Okay,
Be
I-
here
Okay,
Monday night
so-
stream.
Thank you.
I can find out tomorrow. That's easier for us to move.
Okay, that's your board
Yes.
preference.
Yes. I just think it's, again, we keep going back to this, trying to be transparent. These people have invested interest in this with their children, and they need to be able to hear what the consultant has to say. And so I feel like having it as a closed workshop is not it's doing a disservice for our reputation as a board.
We don't have closed
I mean, it's,
workshops.
I mean, as far as live streaming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's on y'all.
Right.
Okay?
all right, I'm formally requesting that I'm gonna make a motion if that's what I gotta do, to have our workshop with Dr. Brown, our consultant, live stream next Monday, June 24th at 6 o'clock.
And I second.
And it's been moved by Mrs. Thompson, second by Mrs. Knight, that we live stream the June 24th meeting. Any other discussion? All in favor?
One thing you might want to think about, though, is if they can't live stream it for whatever reason, now what do you want?
Then I recommend a larger location as a backup to that.
Okay. So that motion has been amended to, if we can't live stream it, move to a larger location.
When can you find that out?
I mean, I'll have an answer tomorrow, if somebody's available.
Tell them I'll take them to dinner, thank them.
It's a lot easier to live
Okay, and you second that, and you're amending your
I
second.
actually made the motion, she
That's what-
seconds. So
okay.
I will amend my motion
To
to add in, if we cannot live stream, that we move it to a larger venue.
And your second stand, Ms. Knight?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All in favor? 5-0, Ms. Bishop.
Ms. Knight, it need to be noted, when I mentioned it last week, no one mentioned about moving it, okay?
Yeah, no, I know. That's why I was going to bring it up, but she did.
Any other questions of me? Okay.
Ms. Attorney,
No, ma'am, not unless you have questions.
board members?
I'd like to recognize and congratulate some FFA members that traveled to Orlando this week to receive their state FFA degree. Wesley Bogert, Luke Hanners, Caden Rains, Caleb Rains, Leah Singletary, Walden Richardson. There was also Joey O'Neill and Stetson Wyrick were unable to attend. Chelsea Crooks and Ethan Botany were recognized and will receive their degree in October. And I'd like to thank the FFA advisor and ag teacher, Kaylee Jenkins, for all that she does. Thank you. We appreciate you.
Would you ask her to send us an article so we can put it on the website?
Yes.
And that was Zoe O'Neill, not Joey.
Oh, Zoe.
Zoe, yes. Zoe, yeah.
Zoe.
Okay. Anybody else? No, I'm been out of town, so I'm playing catch up on a lot of things. So I just want to just remind the superintendent of the other situation that I am, still wanting some clarification on. I have the email and I have the recommendation, but at the end of the day, I just want to know that something has been addressed and has been done about it. Our students' private information being handed out is a huge concern for me, and I want to know that that has been addressed appropriately.
One of the things from Attorney Reed's paper is that we've got to accept fault. At the beginning of the year, this district will be including that non-disclosure report for all students. We will get that. If they do not want their information released, we should have done that. We didn't do it. We will
And
have
at the
that.
end of the day, we already know that it's against board policy, so again, like I said, I just,
But that has been.
and that's me, as a parent, it's very frustrating to me to know that my personal information was given out to somebody against my consent.
But I can't control the charter schools.
I understand that. But we as a board have a responsibility to know our board policy and to follow it. Ms. Thompson?
I would just like to say, I hope you all are having a wonderful summer break, and please, if you can, come out next week and participate and see what Dr. Brown has to recommend for the board moving forward after he has done all of his meetings. Thank you, everyone, for everything.
I don't have anything.
I don't have anything. Thank you.
I
Mr.
move to
Reeves?
dismiss.
Okay. It's been moved, adjournment, motion for adjournment has been moved, so meeting's over.